live. Why can't I see? Here we go. All right, hello to those of you here with me live or watching on replay. Please do give a hashtag replay if you are watching on replay. Welcome, my name is Christine. I am the founder of Quantum Ascension Temple and Quantum Ascension Community, the group that we are doing this in. And we are now going to get into another amazing speaker. Chica's coming over. For our Get Your Shift Together event. We are going to be chatting with Jarin Kenyon about some human design. And guys, I just had a quick little chitty chat to Jarin before this live, and he's got some amazing stuff for you. So I'm super excited. Hi Stacey, how you going? I'm just going to invite him on now, guys. So give me one sec. Let me see. Let's find Jarin now. Oh my gosh. Get that to go away. There we go. Alright, so hopefully he will be here with us in just one second. Oh, so glad to hear that you're well, Stacey. You're excited to hear about human design? Do you know what your human design is? What's going on with this? Oh. Sorry, beauties, just waiting for, I thought I saw Jarin come on then. Let's see. Oh, all right, cool. Sorry guys, I'm just having some technical difficulties here. Give me a minute. Allow viewers to send you a request. Hey Jarin, do you have an option there that asks you to be in the broadcast? Or that where you, oh hang on, is this it? There we go. Got it. Here we go. Oh, I think this is right. Hi Diana, how are you? Hi Ashley. Ashley literally just wrote human design in a DM right as this popped up. Oh my god, synchronicity. Hello Jarin. I'm gonna shut up now guys and let Jarin say hi to you all.
Hey, how are you doing? We made it. Can you hear me okay?
Oh my gosh, I've just realized unplugged the mic because I can't actually hear you. So hopefully you guys can still hear me because I had to unplug. Jarin, can you just talk again? Because I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Thank
All
you.
right.
I'm sorry.
All right, we're all set. How are you doing tonight?
Real well. It's morning here for me, so I'm doing really well, feeling super
Yes,
chirpy
it's morning.
this morning, and cannot wait to hear about human design.
Yes, thank you for having me on. For those of you that have not heard of it before, I'm gonna make sure that we give you the initial steps, as well as those of you that have heard about it for a long time. We'll hit on some parts that maybe you have not heard of. I'm more keen on what the value is of it as far as how you can actually apply it to your life. The most important parts, rather than, you know, a test where you have all these numbers and colors and you hear all these ideologies and potentials about yourself, but you can't actually use it in life. A lot of people study human design for a long time and they get really really in depth and lost in, the complexities of it. But at the same time, there are 3 or 4 basic principles that are really simple once you start to apply it. And that actually gives most of the benefit from it. And it actually allows all the intricacies to come about. So we're going to go through what really matters, as well as going to and through some of the depths. And as well, for those that have been studying design for a while or aware of it, we're going to talk to you a little bit about something new that's come out, that we have the ability to compute our human design with actual true sidereal astrology, which is the accurate astrology in the stars, as opposed to our a little bit outdated and inaccurate Western tropical system. But I guess I'll tell you all who I am. I teach manifestation, first and foremost, the laws of energy, frequency, and vibration, how your focused attention on your intentions and your intuition and your actions can create the world that you wish to have from the inside out, so that the world is not a force upon you. It's a reflective field, and you're able to impart what you want to experience and go on the ride of life, experience all your dreams, fulfill all your passions, and ascend, as we are at this amazing point. In fact, June of this year is quite a special time. So things are really happening. And I'm glad to be on here to talk about specifically human design, in the sense that, when we talk about energy and manifestation, as I know that you're into as well, Christine, and you teach, I like to teach that on a universal level. We're all the same. We're all part of energy, right? We are energy, we are frequency, we are vibration. We're all equal. There's no differences when it comes to what our potential is in creation. However, we also have things and genetics and aspects of, physical matter and consciousness down here in the old 3D. I'm not so sure many of us are living in 3D anymore, but we have been in that place where we are predisposed to disposition of the past, such as, I'm a man and you're a woman, and so therefore we have differences, correct? That we are subject to. So a lot of people, in the manifestation world or spiritual world, when they really, really rise up, they get to a point where it's like, I don't like any limitations, and I get that. And I don't want any identity. But the reality is, while you're in this human suit, we do have certain identities. And in fact, we came with a purpose to live out this suit. And we're ascending with it, raising our genetics up to a higher level of consciousness, not just trying to leave it and pretend we don't have a mind, pretend we don't have a body, and want to be something else, So we are predisposed to information that, yes, comes astrologically as well as through other things, that has caused us to have certain traits and characteristics and skill sets that I think we can all see just by our appearances. But at the same time, deep inside of us, we have differences as well. That's what makes us who we are and how we tick. And we don't all tick in the same way. We have certain mechanics that are different. Our intuition is primarily based in different spots. And we have areas that are masculine and areas that are feminine. And as far as being differentiated and being unique, human design is by far the most powerful system I've ever come across for it. Still is to this day. I first came across it in 2011. And the reason I first took to it so much is because in December of 2010, just before the turn of the year, I was writing about wanting to be part of a new numerology or new astrology system on the planet. I felt like things were going to get updated and we were going to find new information. And a few weeks later, I was out in California. I was speaking at a conference with some of the people from The Secret, that whole crowd over there. And a guy heard me speak and came up to me after, and he said to me, "Hey, I want to check out your human design." And I said, "Oh, what is that?" And this was just a few weeks after me asking for it, but I hadn't yet recognized it yet. I said, "Well, okay, I'll get to you and we'll have a lunch or something. But right now I'm going to India on a pilgrimage with a guru named Dr. Pillai, and I want to go on this pilgrimage. And then when I come back after it, I'm going to have clarity and I want to see what I want to do next. So I don't want to jump into anything." And when I went to that pilgrimage a few weeks later, on the second day, the guru mentions human design is going to change the world. And I sat there and I'm like, I'm hearing this from this guru now who's talking about chants and rituals and other kinds of things. And he's bringing up human design 2 weeks after I just came across it in Los Angeles. So that was my confirmation that this was a go. And I need to look into this. Yeah. So I came back to California and ended up joining with that gentleman, and we ended up working in a company called Manifesting Greatness, where we didn't just work with individuals. We actually went into some corporate systems and worked with the employees on getting them connected with their design, as well as helping them stay focused on their dreams through manifestation, through writing. And I was able to function and watch how design was working and watch how it can help people even just understand that you have an intuition, you know, just to, just, just to get us out of the, you know, linear, logical, rational, fight or flight, cerebral cortex, neocortex type thinking, just to realize we have other intelligences that isn't analytical and that isn't necessarily even located in our normal thought patterns, that might even be located in our body senses and our instincts and things like that. So beyond even that, it really gets people down the rabbit hole of doing that. And so I ended up staying with it for the last 10 years and, you know, seen many charts and worked with many people on it. In fact, I have a bunch of close friends, probably some of them will watch this, who are getting connected to you, Christine, and your community. And we know our designs very well. I've memorized probably 100 people's designs, their basics. I have them memorized. I've learned that you can function with them. It's like a superhero suit. Yes, there's a left brain to it. You think about it, but the reality is it's how to properly use your body. So if you know some basic mechanics, you know how to trigger people in their body so that we get our energy flowing and then we get our intention flowing, and then we can, you know, be in much more channeling and flow when we have a proper root. So in practice of it for so long, what's happened is, so I'm going to bring up the last part here. What's happened is, for those of you that are aware of astrology, Western tropical astrology, which is what 98% of people know, it's what's in all the people's emails with their horoscopes and everything else, in actuality isn't accurately what our solar system looks like. You know, when we stare at it through a telescope, we are being told that if you think of a pie, a circle, that, you know, all pieces of the pie, there's 12 of them and they're all 30 degrees. It sounds a little communist, actually, when you think about it, but that we'd all be the same, that the universe would make it all the same like that. Well, it's not. If you look at the constellation sizes, you will see that, you know, they are all different sizes. I mean, Virgo, for example, is around 50 degrees or so. So it's roughly 50 days of people actually are sun Virgos. And Scorpio only has 6 days, for example. So a lot of people that think they're Scorpios are not. And then all the others are different sizes, as well as a 13th sign. So there's 13 signs instead of 12. So right off the bat, you have an inaccurate view of what actually is in the sky if you're actually looking at it. So when they say Venus is in Scorpio or whatever, it's not. It's really in the sign before it, actually, most of the time. So it's not a full month off, but about 25 or 26 days or so on average. So a few people will keep their sun sign, but most do not. And even those that do, much of your Mercury, Venus, and all the rest will change. So everybody's a little different already. But on top of that, Western astrology doesn't take in the fact that we've had a precision over time. We are not back in Jesus times 2,000 years ago. We are rotating around the galaxy. It is not exactly, you know, a circle. And what's happened is we have actually tilted around another 8 degrees or so different from where we're at that. So that actually throws it off another little bit. And so on top of learning from sidereal astrologists and actually looking at my astrological chart and seeing how, wow, this is the actual me, and this tropical is more of like almost like an ego personality program that makes sense a little bit, and I programmed myself in a little bit, but it's not really me. So I looked at that, and then I looked at design, and I said, well, design, it's based on astrology, so what is it coming from? And then lo and behold, finding out that it's coming from tropical astrology. So what's going on is it's an inaccurate representation of the information that's coming through when you're birthed. So fast forward a few years, is in the recent times, as of last year, I was able to come across a man named Richard Mason, who has a Cosmic Human Design page, cosmichumandesign.com, as well as a Facebook group that is growing very fast, that he was able to calculate and form the algorithm so that you can actually print your human design graph with the real astrology. So big things. It's blowing up the human design world because a lot of people that are stuck on it don't want to change and may not agree with it, and that's okay. But those of us that are understanding that 1 + 3 isn't 9, that's just not what it is. It's that simple. Can look at the math and say, wait a minute, yeah, that's not actually what's in the sky, and this is actually what we're looking at. And, you know, eventually it'll become more mainstream, but you can get your accurate human design chart. And having said that, I've watched in the last month it changing people's lives, including my own, finally coming around and seeing it. And I can look clearly at the map of myself now. And what it's doing is it's helping to strip us from where we're been, you know, programmed and blocked to be in an inaccurate calendar. I mean, think about even the Gregorian calendar system. We are in disharmony with the galaxy and the universe. We've kind of been like off in this little fringes of this virus that's been not in harmony with the cosmos. And we've been a little bit at disharmony with ourselves as a result of being a little bit, you know, tilted. And so this is helping to steer us back on track. So it's an accurate golden path kind of, you know, trajectory of returning to your real self, but right here in this human body so that we can live this out. So that's my spiel on the cosmic design for now. Any questions? Or
guys, this is really, really groundbreaking stuff. You know, like I said at the start of this live, I had a bit of a chat to Jarin just to get everything organized for the live, and we had to talk about my human design, what I thought it was, and how I didn't actually relate to some of that. I actually found it really difficult to relate to some of that. And Jarin was like, well, that's because that's not what you are. And that makes so much sense to me. So, and in relation to zodiac signs and, you know, star signs and that kind of stuff, in all honesty, I feel like I am what I am, but apparently I'm not. So, you know, this is really, really interesting information, guys. I do ask that you stay open and, you know, let us know in the comments. Is there anyone here who feels disconnected from their zodiac sign? Like they, you know, perhaps you've read about it and you're like, well, that's just not necessarily me, or even your human design, you know, and if you already know about that, and you've already, you know, you've already gotten your type there, but you don't connect with it, let us know in the comments if that's you, because I think that's really important. And Jarin's going to give us some really amazing information in regards to that. I'm like on the edge of my seat here, guys. I'm listening hard, and I hope you are.
You're awesome. Well, let me say this without anybody going into what they believe within the astrological aspect of what the graph is, even for yourself. We're just going to go through human design as far as the mechanics of it. That is the accurate system. I mean, all of human design is complex, and it's what it is. So as far as what you compute your chart to be is a whole nother story. But as far as how the mechanics of human design work, we got to go back to the ground level and beginner level of what it even is. Okay, so human design is a mix of several different things, the biggest two being astrology and your genetics. Okay, your 64 DNA codons that you have in the body. And what happens is, you know, neutrinos are this bits of information that go through the universe, and as they pass through the planets in our solar system, as we're born, we are imprinted with information that gives us certain characteristics that are either masculine or feminine in their approach. It's either one or the other, and you have a mix of all of them. Everybody does. We all have masculine and feminine within us. It's just the variation of how it's connected. Then what happens is it combines the Kabbalah, the I Ching, quantum mechanics, astrophysics, and the chakra system all into one. And within the chakra system, we're conventionally taught about the 7 centers, right? Roy G. Biv. Well, in human design, it's the 9-centered vehicle. We have evolved past the 7 to the 9-centered organisms. And for those of you that understand the power of number 9, if you've heard of Tesla 369 and things like this, you understand that 9 is encompassing, it's the all. In a sense, it's the God human. And so there are 9 centers in our body that are also either masculine or feminine in connection point. And then what happens is if a certain DNA is masculine in one chakra and it connects to another, they call them centers in human design. Then you have a channel. It's a special talent that you have consistently in you. But what that does is it defines the 2 chakras that are connected, and that forms 2 conditioning or masculine centers, chakras. And the centers that do not have a connection point or a channel are therefore feminine, receiving, being conditioned centers. So those are some of the basics of design. Now, besides it being so, you know, all these different math and spiritualities all connect into one, The other aspect that separates human design is it's not just the personality test at birth time, which is what all other ones are. I have not seen any others that encompass anything else like design does, in the sense that it's not just based on when you're birthed, which, our birthday, and this is what I am. That's your personality, that's your conscious self, and that's the right side of the chart. 88 days, or actually 88 or so degrees, technically, before you're birthed, you actually inherit your subconscious design, your body design. And if you think about how much we're conscious of, in reality, it's very little to how much is running on a program subconsciously. We're aware of very little. So this brings in our real self, our blueprint of our body's mechanisms. You can look at it as that's when you take on your ancestors' characteristics, the karma from, ancestral blueprint, genetics from your family. Also, I look at it as, and many do, that's when the soul chooses a body. So the soul that is you, that's lived many lifetimes, many places, but let's just say on earth, chooses a body and says, this is the right situation for me, comes in, and that's your subconscious design, which in essence, to me, I look at it as almost, although it's not just past, but let's say your past lifetimes kind of built into one. This is what you gained on earth while you were here, and this is what you come in with, the good and the bad of karma, both. Then that's your big I. I call that the I. Okay. Then on your birthday, when you're actually come out of your mother's womb, then that's Jarin. That's Christine. That's this time around. That's this personality. So the baby becomes alive and awake and conscious of itself far before you're born, if you think about it, right? You recognize sounds, you hear music, you might know your mother and father, you move around, we may not remember it consciously, but we know we're alive in this earth then. So that in reality is the bigger you, as far as I'm concerned, to go along with the personality in this life. And then it prints out, there are more combinations of potentials than there are people on the planet. So that's how unique it is. It's not like there's 600 million, Virgos over here and 600 million Pisces over here, and I know trust me, when you get a real accurate astrology report, it gets broken down farther. Same thing with the destiny cards. I believe in them, the Magi system, and various other systems that all have impact. But as far as the complexities of how your bodies work on a subconscious level and on a shadow and gift level, for those of you that have heard of the gene keys, it goes along with human design. I call gene keys like the mother and human design like the father. It's a map that combine together. And to be able to get accurately represented with your whole self and only be you, even twins, when you really go deeper and deeper and deeper, because most of the time when people have their charts or their free charts or whatever, it only shows so much. You will see that there are definitely differences. So it is you, it is only you. And now that we've arrived at the accurate math to it, I think that for the first time, people are getting an opportunity to actually see who they really are from their essence, before conditioning, before this stripping that this change on the planet that we're going through. And it gives you an opportunity where, look, we want to feel our way through life, and we want to get away from so much analytics and identity and all that kind of things. And I agree with that. Believe me, three quarters of my life in its teaching is not based on any of those identities. It's based on you are a God in a human body, and you can create and achieve anything, given you operate in universal harmony, which is higher virtues and principles with those around you. But at the same time, because you are in this suit, you have a certain superpowers, you have certain gifts, intuitive abilities, receptive abilities, thinking patterns, all kinds of things that are unique to you. And when you learn to use the suit better, things become easier. You avoid a lot of stress, conflicts. You understand what's going on quicker, then you know not how to act differently the next time, for example, if it comes around, and you jump time. I mean, you really can quantumly manifest through your human design suit by jumping time.
Yes, I'm all about that. And if you don't mind, I want to interrupt you here a little bit, and just go back to the how you were saying that we are conscious when we're in our mother's womb. Now, some of you may not, obviously, most of us don't remember that, but if you don't believe that that's the case, that you do have consciousness whilst you're in your mother's womb, I highly recommend, and I cannot for the life of me remember her name at the moment, and I'll probably remember it at like 3 a.m. or something ridiculous like that. But there is a woman who actually remembers her entire timeline, right of the moment to of her conception. So she remembers every single part of being in the womb. They've actually done a whole documentary on it. She was on news and everything like that. So guys, this shit is real. You know what I mean? Like consciousness that you experience in your mother's womb is real, and it's based in studies. This isn't just, you know, some made up sort of fact, random made up thing. You know, there is scientific basis in it. And you guys know that I like to synergize those. I like to synergize spirituality with a little bit of science, but there is this gray area in between where, you know, it is just faith-based, but this isn't. Go look it up, guys, if you're a skeptic. Sorry, I had to say that.
Perfect. No, I agree. I agree. And so, you know, and even if you just look at it as, hey, now I can see my subconscious a little better. You know, it's one thing to see what I like and what my personality characteristics are, but something else is going on inside that I'm trying to work with, you know, not fight, but at the same time work with. And this is what human design can do. So having said all that, I think we'll go through some of the initial aspects of design for people out there that haven't heard.
Question.
Yes.
So what do people do in the case of not knowing their birth time? Now, I know that might sound strange to a lot of you, but you know, I was born in the Philippines, and my birth time isn't actually printed on my birth certificate at all. It's just the date. So if my mum wasn't around to tell me, okay, you were born at this time, I wouldn't have known my birth time. So what do people do in that case?
Well, I mean, I recommend, well, no, I do. I recommend people to, you know, if you can, call your hospital. Oftentimes, most people can find it through the hospital. Otherwise, you have to talk to all your relatives and try to find, you know, any that you can that may know, or at least can come up with a general time. And, you know, if you can't find it through people or the hospital, then inevitably you have to make an intuitive decision. And that's what you have to go on. And the reality is if you can get it, let's say, even within a couple hours, the chances are the bulk of it's not going to change. Just little things might change, especially like the moon or Mars or Mercury, things that move quicker. So it could just change minor parts, but you really want to find the accurate time, because human design isn't just a day. It is based on your time. It has nothing actually to do with the day. So it is important to know, but at least if you can get it to morning, you know, roughly between 5 and 7. And then what I tell people to do is you plug in different times of the day and you look at 3 or 4 different charts and see which one is resonating with you the most, because then you'll be able to pinpoint it.
Yeah, that's helpful. I like that, because you know, I've had that question myself, and I'm no human expert design, but you know, someone has said to me before, well, what if I don't know my birth time? You know, so I think that's really helpful. And I like that you brought in using your intuition in regards to that. If you don't really know, if you really can't find out, you know, tune in. You've got that information there. Just got to access it, right?
Yep. And as with anything, I always bring it back to your intention. So if you want to discover your time, you will. You just have to put enough energy and knowing and feeling into it, and then it will come. So the real step is, you know, start jotting down that you found your birth time and you're so happy that you now know, and then watch what happens. So I think both of those are important, your will of intent and then your intuition that knows, that feels, and that guides you along that path. Both of those are really the answer. If you just go out blatantly and are searching for anything in life and you don't have an intention and you're not following your intuition, that's where we're lost in the old matrix, and that's very limited, and that keeps us stuck, not finding answers and not moving on in life. So I would definitely start there. Other than look at your hospitals, call your family. Most people eventually find it. I mean, I've worked with hundreds of people, and I don't think anyone eventually didn't find their birth time. And if you're one of those rare cases, then we just have to intuitively guess it. So,
Thank
all
you.
right. All right, so within human design, the first part that people see, and it is true, it's the first, you know, characteristic that we look at, is the types, right? So there are 5 types of people on the planet. Some human design texts and people will say, well, there's 4, and then one is a you know, kind of a hybrid, but still a generator. I call it 5 types because they're so different. First type we'll go through is a generator. And a generator is roughly 37% of the population. And a generator is a generator because it has a sacral sex chakra, the second one up from the base of the spine, that is defined, that is conditioning, and that is consistent. So you'll see it's colored orange on your chart. And that means that you have a pump that's going inside of you all the time that creates its own energy, its own life force. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of go off a little bit back and forth and say those manifesting generators out there, which are 33% of the world. So those of you, and that's what I am, those of you that are a manifesting generator, you also have that defined sacral. So when you add up 33 and 37, you see that we have 70% of the people on the planet have a generator defined pump, which means you'll see on the chart, it says strategy. It means your strategy is to respond to life, which is really the most important thing for any generator or manifesting generator, is to realize that your gut is the answer and that you're designed to respond to life. Now, everybody's chart is different. So once we get into the intricacies, we all have different characteristics, but we have to speak general, you know, today in saying that in a sense means if you're reaching for something outside in this visible world externally, you're going to run into challenges and you're going to be limited and you're going to waste a lot of energy. And it doesn't mean you can't accomplish things, because we can through our pure will, period. However, you are designed to let life come to you. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't create what you want, you don't manifest, you don't take action. But what it means is, and I call it vertical versus horizontal. Vertical, as you're connecting to spirit, consciousness, God, higher self, whatever you want to call it, you have to put out for what you want always. You have to put out for your goals, your dreams, your desires, your aspirations, the whole thing. Like a GPS, right? You plug your destination in. But when it comes to you, it kind of comes more through the conventional stream of law of attraction as people know it, where you will literally attract the experience to you. Now, what happens is with a generator, it can come through any medium. There's tons of stimuluses all the time that can come at us, but it's all triggered by whether our gut says yes or no. So not all things that come to us that we're brought to are yeses. Some are, some aren't. So first and foremost, as an MG or a generator, without looking at the other aspects, which we're going to, is you want to follow your gut. And a physical warm sensation for me and for many is the yes. Like it starts in your sacral sex chakra like a kid, and it shoots up your kundalini. And it gets you really like, yes, this is it. This is excited. You just feel this overwhelming of energy, or you'll feel this gut warm sensation of a yes. Sometimes when you're still and quiet and calm, you'll still feel that warm sensation. That is your intuition. Also, what they call in human design authority. That means you'll have an authority. Every generator, even if they have an emotional, which you do, Christine, but even if we have that, we still have that authority, intuition being gut. And when we say authority, really that's what it means. But the authority is you. It's just you giving up your, you know, egoic rational thinking of separateness to something that's bigger, that is also you, that knows the answer. And in a way, you're getting it from the universe's knowledge. You're tuning into the matrix, or any way you want to look at it, and you're getting your answer, and your gut is what tells you it. It's free of highs or lows or yes or desires or emotions. It's just this energy that tunes in and says, yes, this is right, or no, this is not. And us generators and MGs know out there, when we don't follow our gut, what happens. When we don't follow that intuition, we miss out on things, or we get involved in things that we look back on and say, I wish I didn't really actually do that. So, you know, in general, you take a pause and you just really talk to it. It responds to sounds. It's literally sound based, which everything in the universe is, but sacral is even more, so that you can speak to it and it will talk to you. It is you, but it's you talking to that inner you that'll know the answer. But in this case, it's a physical sensation. Okay, it's purely physical. It has nothing to do with a lunar cycle or emotions or thoughts or anything else. It's just this yes or no. MGs and generators alike. Okay, so generators also, besides following their gut and letting life come to them, They're sustaining energy. They're designed to sustain and be the life force. You give life force to the other designs, and you are designed to keep things moving, give things life, keep it going, sustain it. Generators being a little bit more, I call it kind of like joggers, where you're more methodical and consistent. You're consistent in your generating of energy and in your actions going forward, as where manifesting generators are a little bit more of sprinters, where something will hit and we'll just go really fast and do a lot and then stop and be either tired or things will just slow down and we'll get stuck and then we'll have to wait for the next thing. So MGs are a little bit more like sprinters. Generators are a little bit more like joggers. But again, this is just my view and generalizing it. What's that?
I don't like running at all.
Okay, well.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking, guys. I hadn't spoken in a while, so I thought I'd better throw in a joke. Just kidding.
You can fast walk then. As far as generators combine with others, other designs, including other generators, okay, let alone the other types we're going to get into, can trigger and fire off generators to get going, get moving, figure things out. So it's really important to communicate either with yourself or have sometimes even greater, have somebody communicating with you, asking you questions, giving you possibilities, and seeing what your gut says, or seeing just what lights you up and what feels light, like what feels good, what feels light. So that's important with generators. Manifesting generators, I will say, I now need to lead to manifestors so we understand what I've been saying about manifesting generators. Manifestors out there are 9% of the world. Okay, so about 1 in 10. Manifestors are designed to initiate things and open doorways. So they're literally designed to be the beginners, where generators and MGs somewhat are designed to be sustainers. Okay, so manifestors open doors. Now, what they do not possess is consistent life force energy. So if they try to go and go and go without energy around them in the environment to pick up on, they're going to become exhausted. Their body's going to become sick. Things are not going to work. So it doesn't mean you just do whatever you want always, but you do have the ability to a little bit more kind of just push the envelope and say, well, as I act, this will happen. And as I do it, you open doorways for the other designs to come through, and then the other designs to display their talents. Now, the strategy for manifestors is to inform. So if you're doing a project that's alone, and oftentimes manifestors can tend to be a little bit more of, on their own or wanting to do their own thing, then you don't have to tell anybody anything. In fact, in all manifestation, I teach something called excess potential, where you don't want to talk about what you're creating until it actually happens, because you throw all kinds of doubt and aggression and competition and all these other kind of things out there. So it's better to let your manifestation happen and only communicate maybe with people that are totally involved or in alignment with it. Then that's great. But oftentimes people are not, and they have ideas for you of what they think you should be doing, or you have doubts of your past coming back because you're communicating with a family member about it, and they're like, oh, we're hearing this again from Jarin. So I generally encourage people to be more quiet about it, other than who's directly involved, and then when it happens, let everybody know. But
I think that's such an important point to make, because I really don't think we realize how much other people's energy can affect what we want to manifest or actualize or anything like that, especially if we're not solid in our own energy, right? If you're 100% solid in your own energy, by all means, go to, Jaren's saying don't go tell the world, but, but if you're not, you got to protect yourself in that way. You got to really be authentic with who you are and go, okay, I'm not really that solid in my own energy, in my own beliefs. So I do need to, give myself that support.
Absolutely. And you're right. Ultimately, if you're your full self in the moment, it doesn't matter what's outside of you. You don't even care. But we have many programs running through, and we have a lot of our past that is continually, present and we haven't cleared yet, and a lot of collective programs. And we have a lot of energy coming at us from others that may not be in their highest self. So that's why the general rule is keep quiet. However, for manifestors, if other people are involved in what you're going to change, catalyze, you know, because manifestors, they make changes or they start new things, so they impact. You want to notify others before you do it. So, you know, that you can just think of spouses, right? Or mom and kids, or coworkers. If people are involved, don't just do it and change everything for everyone without bringing everybody in, because then you're going to have a lot of friction and a lot of disharmony. And that's when manifestors can be perceived as arrogant or selfish or controlling, stuff like that. When really it's just your natural self, but you have to realize with others, it's a different theme. So you just want to inform so that others, not for permission necessarily. It's not about compromise even. That's a shadow actually in Gene Keys, believe it or not. Although we do compromise as human beings, alignment would be a greater word, but you you still you still want to tell them so that they can prepare for that change, slash already start putting their gifts into it or prepare themselves for it. So, you know, I'm kind of going back and forth between speaking about everyday life with your family or friends versus people that are co-creating on manifesting projects, right? It's a different kind of a thing, but you really want to let people know before you do it. Yes. Yep. So informing is key to manifestors, just who's involved, to lessen the impact and also gather strength from the other energy centers of what's coming from the other people. So manifesting generators are a subtype of both of these. And it depends on your specific graph as far as how much more of a manifester you may be versus how much you're really just a generator with a few manifestor characteristics. Now, human design, many of the old texts will kind of talk about MGs really just being generators, but they have characteristics. But that's not necessarily true depending on a few of the channels. And believe me, I've lived a few of them to know that there are some channels that makes you more of a manifester just as much as it makes you a generator. And in fact, there's one channel that makes you a complete manifesting generator. It only can operate if it's this, triggered, then initiate. So if the manifestors initiate and the generators are responding, the MG is still respond. In general, you respond. Okay, this came, it feels right, now I'm going to do it. Then you can initiate. So you turn into manifestors with generator energy. So this is where the sprinting comes from. And so it's key for MGs to pause before they do it. Make sure it's correct, because MGs, if they do it without informing or if it's not correct, can cause all kinds of messes. And at the same time can cause a lot of fast, heroic stuff to happen if it is correct. But you have to take that pause. They call it an or moment. So you taste it. You just sleep on it. You maybe pause for a few seconds, gather your strength, and really make sure it's right. Because if it's right, you're going to go all in. You're going to go full board. And once you go, you're not really actually designed to stop with it until it's time to stop. You're designed to keep making things happen. So take the pause if you're an MG. Also, then realize if people are involved, you want to let them know of what you're doing, on what changes are going to happen. And I think for now, that's a good basic mix of those three. One starts things, one sustains things, the other one does a little bit of both. The fourth aspect is called a projector, which projectors represent 20% of the world. Okay, and projectors are our directors, our advisors. Okay, they guide the energy of the other designs, even including other projectors, for example. They are naturally wired to learn about themselves through other people, but they inherently feel other people and can see what's going on with them or what direction they might want to change. So projectors can, and by the way, I think we all know this, anyone would be watching this would know, we all have characteristics of all these words I'm using. However, there are certain mechanics of where we succeed at and sustain ourselves the most. So calling them advisors and even managers and directors, in a sense, where they set the stage and they help guide the efficiency of everybody else there. So you can be a little off and a projector can help get you back on point. So now the other aspect of projectors is, they're kind of an architect of things. So they can kind of build systems for other people to function in. In fact, they love doing this. Again, it's all relative to the type of projector you are, but you can set up systems that you can star on as well, but also that other people will star on. So they like to see it's almost like seeing the movie and seeing the stage and how everybody fits into it and how they can develop systems that can help make it so that everybody succeeds. So it's always awesome to have a great projector around you. The key is projectors need to be invited. And that's the key. So projectors that push, it's never going to work. And projectors, that don't wait for the invitation, what's happening is that person's either not ready for it, not going to hear it, not going to understand, or you're literally manipulating and controlling and preventing them from what the bigger universe has in mind that you can't see yet. Just because you're a projector doesn't mean that you can see everything. And so it's better to let the other designs go through their process, because as they go through their process, that's when they bring things back to you. So you're actually inhibiting their growth and your growth and or what you're doing by getting in the way. Now, I do recommend they could offer questions, or kind of bring it up a little bit and say, hey, you mind if I talk about this with you a little bit? Things like that, you can kind of do it. You can observe and then actively, conversate a little, but in general, it's better to just watch and wait. And you other designs want to know, hey, this is a projector that's close to me, and so let me say something. And then when you do that, the door opens and everything can flourish. And then they're fueled by your energy, and they're fueled by what you're either starting or sustaining for them. And they love that, but you have to invite them and they have to be invited. Now, lastly, with projectors, besides being invited to guide people, they also have to be invited. You're better off being invited into manifestations that you want to grow in. So literally it comes through an invitation of a person. With generators and MGs, it's like triggers through anything. Anything can lead us down the path. With a generator and MG, it's like look across the river and wait, and then the universe will deliver rocks for you to cross. You can't cross because of the water, but then the rocks will be delivered and you'll take the steps. And through any means. But with a projector, it's specifically geared towards human beings. So someone either directly will invite you in or mention something. It's not even just inviting, it's mentioning, hey, have you heard of this, or this might be good for you. Or indirectly, they'll mention somebody else who will then have the way. So you really want to pay attention and have patience, which is the key for projectors, is to have patience of what's going on. Realize your stimuluses are less, and you're really designed more to just do your work and act without expectation, is what I say. Build what you're building, just trust and allow, and then those right opportunities will come. And then when they're correct, then you make big leaps, because you don't need like 7 generator steps or whatnot. You'll just take a big leap and you'll be invited right into the new job, or the new group of people to hang out with, or the new position where everybody wants you to play the role that you always wanted to play. Stuff like that will come when projectors are patient to wait to be invited.
Yeah, some of the stuff that I love that you've mentioned so far, because it's some of the stuff that I was going to ask you, is how the different types interact with each other and how they can, sort of help each other and build each other up. So I love that you're speaking about this.
Yeah, well, that's really what it's for, right? Is our connection. That's why we're here, is to play this game together. So human design does definitely do that. Although I will say, if you don't first know yourself, at least somewhat, you have no chance to engage with someone else. Then the second step is knowing them. That's why definitely, and now that we have the accurate charts, everybody, I can say, knowing people around you, when you know and they know, and then you can start to operate that way, it really sends you off, and it makes things fluid, in flow, in ecstasy and ease. And then it avoids a lot of stress and conflicts. It skips a lot of karma, so to speak, when you start to operate in sync. And even though it's still a linear process, we're moving faster, there's still time, it's more quantum based, so you're taking big steps with less energy as required, as opposed to lots of work, lots of time, and taking forever. But you have to give your power to your body, and you have to give the power to the other person as well, as what they excel at. Last but not least is reflectors. And reflectors are 1% of the world, less actually, and they're very rare. And reflectors are completely undefined everywhere. So you have all 9 centers operate from the conditioned feminine quality. Now, it does not mean you don't have masculine gates, because you do. Gates are the specific DNA. So you have specific qualities that will be very strong, in fact, but the function of yourself is to literally be in surprise and in at the whims of the universe. And yes, they'll say that your strategy is to wait, 28, 29 days for a lunar cycle. I find this to be accurate, and at the same time, it's relative to transits of astrology. So just because you read that doesn't mean you always have to wait that long, because what happens is we are our design, but just like astrology changes, a collective astrology, so does different gates be fired off on us at times collectively. So right now, I don't know what it is, but there'll be 8 or 10 different gates that normally we don't have that we're all feeling. So you will change. So there's times when the reflector will feel like a generator, or like a manifesting generator, even based on transits. And then it can trigger different things in you that you're normally not used to. So we all need to understand that and pay attention to that we do change in time. And you can research the human design transits and stuff like that if you're really, really into it. But reflectors in general do want to give time. Maybe it's one of two things. It's, okay, there's an opportunity, so I'm going to give it a month and then see how I feel. Or it might be, hey, I got to make a decision now, so why don't I just do it and then see what happens and how I feel a month later, right? And either one, after that month, you will have much more clarity on what's right, what's wrong, or what needs to be adjusted. So your authority, in a sense, is no authority. It's based on the environment and the lunar cycle. So your intuition, in a sense, even though it's still within you, it's coming from outside of you, where all the other designs are coming from inside of them. So in a sense, it's really the less egoic, is the more universal. And in a group setting, it kind of is like the intuition of the group. She or he can feel the collective energy of the group and can see things that maybe the rest of the group cannot see, because she or he is outside of himself, feeling what's actually best for everyone, not themselves. So I value reflectors incredibly with their gifts of intuition. In a sense, they're like the projector's projector as a guide, because they're completely undefined, although their functions and their traits are far different. In fact, you'll find them often to be very talkative and very energetic, but they can be so conditioned that they can be lost in relationships and lost in the world's pain and lost in all kinds of things. So reflectors have to realize it's good to learn the qualities that you do have that are consistent, and as well as clean yourself off all the time. I recommend this to all, but including projectors. Clean yourself off, get yourself out of other people's energy, try to clear yourself of what's going on in the world so that you can recharge yourself, so that you're not like taking on everything that's going on around you.
Yeah, I think so. There's so many people in the world that are constantly like, oh, I feel so dense, and I feel sluggish, and I just have been in contact with all these people that have all this lowered energy. And then it's like, well, have you cleansed yourself of that energy? Have you released that energy from yourself? And they're like, oh, no. So many people put that on the back burner, guys, and it's such an important thing to do. In all honesty, right after I get off this live, I'm cleansing everyone's energy off me. Yeah, we're having fun here, but at the same time, I just want to feel me. I want to tune into me,
Well said.
Get into that practice.
Well said. Yep. Definitely agree. And, for the sake of time and to be able to go through the other aspects of it, reflectors, super important. You are out there, and you have extreme gifts. It just operates much different than the rest. And I'm not a reflector, so I can know all about it, but I'm not you. So you have to experience it, for yourself. But I'm going to tell you, like you, Christine, who's told in conventional astrology that you were a reflector.
I'm sad that I'm not now.
Well, again, we all have identities and suits, and we can play around with all of them. But the reality is, you didn't really function like a reflector, I think, since I met you. You have a lot of energy. You can get triggered. You seem like a generator to me, or something like that. But we'll get to that point in a minute, and I'll go through your chart a little bit and give an example.
Scary.
Yeah. Okay, next part is authority. I touched a little bit on this with some of the aspects of the generator. But there are 7 different authorities. It's like kind of intuition on steroids is what I call it. Like it's your thing. Okay. It is your answer. It is your decision maker. None of them are mental and none of them are emotional, even though one of them is called emotional. They are not based on an emotional decision of a high or low, or shouldn't be. And they are not based on anything mind-based or mental. All those things are going to block us. And if you think about it, 3 and 4D are those 2 things. So it's not wise to make your decisions. You want to think, you want to feel, have emotions, but it's saying to feel them and use them and manifest from them and gain wisdom, but it's not what you choose to act on in life, and whether yes or no or where you go in life. It comes from your body in a much different place. So the biggest one, which is 53% of the world, is what's called an emotional authority. Okay. And an emotional authority means you have a solar plexus. So if you look in the chart, it's on the right side, that is defined. And it is number 1. So it overrides all the rest. There's nothing more powerful than human emotions when they're really going. They are the answer. So if you have an emotional authority, you want to ride the wave. So patience does come in here. It's all about feeling, but you want to wait until it feels neutral. And all of a sudden you just have this, oh, this is what I do. You know, you can be on that high and say, yes, this is it, I'm going to do it. And it doesn't mean that it necessarily is. It might just be a moment. Or you can be on this down and say, no, I don't like this at all. But wait a minute, what if it is? You don't know. So in general, they say like 3 cycles. I don't know necessarily what that will feel like for people. I don't have it. But you go through 3 cycles of time until you just kind of, oh, now I get it. And you have this sense of, yes, this is yes, or this is a no. So when people try to get you emotional authorities to rush your decisions, unless it's something in the moment where we kind of have to, you know, sometimes that happens, but you're not supposed to. So you want to wait on it. But it can mean, you know, tomorrow instead of today, or it can mean weeks later. It's all relative to, you know, transits, to what's going on, to the impact. But in general, you listen to your feelings. You feel those ranging emotions that you have, but you don't rush and act on any of them impulsively. Okay. Chemically, you're designed to kind of have this little bit. It's not good and bad. It's not like you're in a good mood and a bad mood. We're not talking like disorders. We're just saying you're like this and you're swimming, and you want to really listen to it. And when an emotional authority is correct, when you know it and you get that answer, you've allowed it, and then when you are encouraged to act on it, it's the most accurate of all authorities. So I mean, you've let the whole matrix has coagulated into whatever needs to be done, and it is absolutely the answer. So shout out to you, emotional authorities. And at the same time, I'm sure it's a little bit interesting to manage. But when you get in touch with your emotions and you enjoy them, and then you just learn to, let me just feel it out and make sure it's correct before I act impulsively or run away impulsively, then you'll be able to function within your proper authority. Now, for those of you that are generators like you, Christine, with an emotional authority, you have both. But the reality is the emotional one overrides it. So if you find yourself where it's a big opportunity, something you've wanted a long time, it affects someone so much, it's a lot of money, it's a big health decision, or you're just way too ecstatic about it, then you might want to know, well, let me just settle a little bit until my emotions really are clear and I really know. Also, your gut will tell you most things, but if you can't feel it yet in your gut, then that means maybe that it's your emotions haven't gotten to that time yet. So it's, you don't know, the universe doesn't know. So again, be patient. So I tell emotional generators, which is what you are, or emotional manifesting generators, to pause and check in with your gut. And if your gut says yes, and it's an overwhelming yes, and you know it's a clear yes, then that's it. You know, you don't have to wait. But if it doesn't know yet, then give it time. Or if you know you're a little unsettled, then maybe don't just do it out of adrenaline or excitement or some kind of other pleasure sense. Do it because it's actually, you know, correct. What did I want to say about that? So like, for example, for you, Christine, like if it's like, where do I go to lunch today? This one or this one? It's not a big deal. You don't really care that much. You know, your gut will be like, okay, here, this is better for me. Okay. that is an example where an emotional generator could just follow their gut, and you don't need to wait. You got it. But like I said, a big time decision or something more than that, or you do have time, then maybe you just want to pump the brakes and wait and make sure. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've had to learn. And that is, I told you guys at the start, I initially thought I was a reflector, having plugged my birth details and everything into the Jovian archive. But based on Jaren's advice here, I'm not a reflector. And I'm really sort of aligning a lot more to what Jaren's saying here. I get so fucking excited about things. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I'll get an idea in my head and I'll be like, yes, I need to do that right now. I should have done that 10 seconds ago. Oh my God, Christine, get onto it. And I've really had to learn to just do that pause and check in with my intuition and go, okay, what is this moment trying to tell me? Am I supposed to do this? Am I meant to move forward with this? Or am I, getting a little bit too excited for the wrong reasons? Am I
Yes.
the right time?
Right.
Because let's face it, guys, sometimes we get excited about the stupidest things. I know I do, right? So taking that moment to pause, particularly for me, has been something that I've had to learn, but upon learning that has made a massive difference to my life. I'm not going off on all these different tangents that maybe I probably shouldn't have gone on,
Yes. Yep. And that's well said. It sounds like you and your design. I mean, you said it well, and it fits right in. And with MGs and generators as well, less is more, but it doesn't mean you're just going to do one thing that's always going to be structured, or that's all you're going to care about. You're going to multitask. But the key is the middle amount. Like I say, like you pick 3 or 4 things that you're really putting all your energy in, not 100. So generators and MGs can get lost on trying to do everything and responding to everything, and then they never get done what they actually were doing. So structure is important to be able to go back to your roots, because you're designed to be a little more spontaneous and out with what's going on. In fact, if you're your proper self, your gut is leading the way all day. So outside of things you have to do that are set, you have no idea what's going to happen, and you're just out flowing, and your gut will lead you to all kinds of experiences beyond your limits or beyond what you thought you were going to do. But then you could get lost out there in the woods and never come home. So you have to come back to what matters, look at your value systems, and go back to putting energy into it. And again, if your gut is saying, I'm trying this, but it's not working, then don't push it. You're not designed to do that. Go into what does feel light and what you do have momentum towards, and know that it'll come back around. Or other design types, other skill sets, such as projectors or reflectors or manifestors or whoever, will come in and fill it in and help you. You don't have to make everything perfect all the time. You're just keeping the motion going, keeping it generating. Okay?
Yeah.
So the third authority, I talked about gut, which is 35% or so of the world has a sacral, which is what I have. 53 has the emotional, but many of those are both. Okay. Then the third most common one, which is roughly 7% of people or so that have it as a primary, but also those of us that have it as a secondary. Okay. Because the other ones override it. Emotional is the top, then the sacral of the gut, and then it goes into the splenic and the will. So splenic is, which oftentimes projectors could be or manifestors can be. Okay. Which is a instinctual sense. It's actually olfactory, and it's kind of like the most animalistic aspect of us. It's the most primal. If you think about fight or flight, survival, just knowing, the elephants leave before the tsunami came in Thailand. They just ran up the hill and they knew it ahead of time. They have this instinct and they just know. So you have to trust that. How do I just know this? It just comes, but it only comes once. So with the emotional, it's a ride, and with the sacral, we can continually ask our gut. But with the splenic, it just comes once and then it's gone. So you can try to think about it and get it back, but you can't. So you have to learn to trust that sometimes it's a silent whisper, they call it, or it can be like this overwhelming knowing, but you have to trust it to act on it. And oftentimes it's quick actions, or at least I know what to do, I'm writing it down, and when the time's right, I'll do it. But if you try to go back to it, you won't be able to. So it's very instinctual in the moment kind of awareness with the splenic. Fourth one is will, which has different meanings. I think for the sake of time, we're just going to call it, you are designed, if specifically, let's say if you guys have what they call the will channel, the money channel, 21 to 45, that is based on acting on your heart's desires. So your intuition is, if my heart's in it, I do it. You have to either be a manifester or a manifesting generator to have this, period. Because I should have explained this earlier, but it's a channel to the throat. So what makes a manifester as well as a manifesting generator instead of a generator is that we have a motor to the throat. So a special channel that's consistently coming up and out. And the throat is the point of all manifestation in voice and in action. And it's sound. If you think about it, again, the universe is built off of sound. So this is like the central hub of all the senses and motors. And you have a motor, which is either sacral, willful, which is the heart, the will, emotional, or the root, which we haven't talked about, which is adrenaline. You have access to the throat through one of those motors. So this is what gives you that initiatory energy where you can just kind of open doors. We all have those qualities at times. Doesn't matter what design we are, because when we're around someone else, our design changes along with transits. But as a general theme, manifestors and manifesting generators have the defined throat. So in this case, with this authority, you're designed to act upon your heart's desires. If your heart's in it, you do it. And then there's another one called self-projected, which is basically you gather what to do through voicing your own words out loud to someone else. You can't do it to yourself. It's to someone else, but you don't have them tell you what to do. It's you hear yourself through talking to them. So with self-projected, you want to have people around you that you can communicate your ideas and your thoughts about, and then you hear your own words, you feel your own words, and then you arrive at it. So it's important for those kind of people and other ones of us, because many of us have a channel that's like this, even though our authority may be different, we have it. So it's important for us to express ourselves, to move the energy, and to discover what we actually do or what we don't do. And then the last two I'm going to mention, the one was the reflector already, the lunar authority, right? You follow a lunar path, patience. The other one is for mental projectors. So for you projectors out here who are not splenic or not emotional, you are what they call no authority in the chart. So it'll say it's like a reflector. I don't go there with that. So these are Jarin's words saying that it's more based on environment. So if you're a mental projector, it means your head is defined, or your head to your throat, or your crown down. And so again, voicing helps, voicing it out, your mind. But really, it's how would I feel in the environment? So I've known many mental projectors where they will, relate to that, to say, yeah, that is actually how that works. If I feel good in that environment, if the thought of it makes me feel good, then I'll do it. If the thought of being in that environment doesn't feel good, then I won't do it.
And by environment, you mean community as opposed to nature environment, right?
Well, yes, but any environment. Both. Okay. Both. Yep. It can be nature, it can be by yourself, but do I feel right in this area or that area? Yep. It's all based on environment. You won't see that in most of the texts, although a few might mention it a little bit. But since there roughly 3% of you or so are mental projectors, I felt to say it in the sense that that's what you follow, is how you would feel in your environment. And so those are the major aspects of the authorities. They're all our answers. They're different, yes. But if we follow our authority, forget the rest of the design. This is your intuition, but this is where it is in your body's mechanics. And if you can follow that, it's half the battle, right? If you can listen to it, to say yes to things, it takes courage. A lot of people are intuitive or empathic for other people, but within themselves, they got all kinds of messes in their head.
Right? Oh my God, so true, so true. There's so many people out there that are like trying to give other people advice, based off their own intuition on, the energy that they feel from that person. But then when it comes to helping themselves, it just, everything goes quiet or everything goes blank.
or there's a whole bunch of junk in there, which we all
Yeah.
have. That's what we're working through. We'll probably touch on
Yeah.
some of that with the gene keys. We'll just briefly mention them, but yes. And some people are intuitive enough to sense what they're supposed to do, but then they don't have the courage to do it. They're worried what someone's going to think. They're worried about money. They're worried about all kinds of things, logic, rationality, fear. How do I, my appearance, all these things, and then they stop us. So the last step is, once you know your authority, good. Now you've learned to feel it, and now it's telling you the answer, good. But now you actually have to do it. You know, this is where the divine masculine of will comes in, where you have to be able to do it. And a lot of people stop. A lot of healers, light workers, awake people now still, they think they're living this esoteric world. And we're all in this process, including myself. But then when it's time to break the limits, well, I can't do that. That's too much money. Or I can't do that because I got to work. Or that's too that because my husband won't like it. Or I can't, you know, all these kind of examples. And all that's doing is keeping you stuck in your karma. And eventually it's going to come around in a different way, harder. So these intuitive answers are ways to dig us out of the false matrix reality. That's what I believe human design is for, just as much as anything else. I call it the future internet of human beings. It's how we're connected. You know, this is our internet. But in that, it's to help us, you know, one way out is our vertical manifestation. Your will of thought and feeling can change worlds in a second, right? The other one is your intuition, which is in your design. Your intuition can bypass all these dark places. And then the third one, and the key, is the strategy in design that I call the power strategy, whether you're a generator and you respond, a projector, be invited. These kind of mechanics are outlets to get out of a linear life, a limited life, and a stuck life. And eventually, we won't even have to think about all these things, right? A lot of this will just become natural subconscious patterns, but we do not have that now. Our subconscious patterns now is make enough money, go to school, go to job, get your relationship, have your 2.3 kids, stay home, only travel 1 week a year, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, these people watching the show are not all that. And I'm not belittling any of that, but the reality is that's the program we've been in. We haven't been in the exploration and freedom of being ourselves and living the earth to its full capacity and doing everything we ever wanted to do. So these steps, which in one session of talking about design, are the most important ones. What's my type? What's my authority?
Great.
So, but I do want to give you at least the background of the centers. So there's 9 centers. You'll see they're either white or colored. Okay, so the bottom root one is called the it's called the root, and it is based on adrenaline energy. Okay, and you'd have to, with most of this today, you're going to have to venture off and look at it on your own, or hire someone to do your design for you. But there's differences between you being masculine or feminine in that when you have the pressure and the pulse and when you don't. In fact, yours is very undefined and open, Christine. I don't have your chart in front of me, but I kind of memorized it already. So yours is open, so your pulse isn't going to always be on. So even though you're a generator that I call somewhat busy, you don't always have the gas for the motor. So you're designed, again, go in spurts. When you don't have it, you don't do it. You do yin qualities. You do other types of things. You rest. You right brain it. When you do have it, though, because you're getting it from others, for example, even though we can transfer it through this, we know this, and you recognize that, it's larger when you're around somebody. So if I was next to you, my root would be conditioning your root, and you would feel all that motor and that gas, and you would borrow that energy. But then sometime a few hours later or a day later, whenever it may be, it will kind of drain out and it'll be gone again, because you're borrowing it or you're receiving it from the environment. And there are so many more intricacies to talk about within it, but knowing which one yours is within any of these chakras helps you, understand your mechanics, so that you can kind of light up your motor or shut it down when you need to. Up from the root is the sacral. We talked about this. Not only is it life force energy of creating babies, right? It's for procreating all life. It co-creates all life, so all of life force energy needs that spark, and that comes from our sacral chakra. So outside of design, obviously when we manifest, we don't just want to do it from our mind or from our emotions. We want to use the fuel that creates babies to create our world, and that's through being excited, being ecstatic, enjoyment. So this is where that pump comes from. Generators and MGs are defined. The other types are not, so it's not always on. And what the ones that are undefined do also, you amplify the others. So you would, you borrow our energy, but you're amplifying ours with it. So it acts as a literal amplifier. Then you have the solar plexus of emotions. I expressed that. Not only is that a intuition or, an authority, it's a sensory center. So it has awareness. It's an intelligence. It has awareness, the feeling, and it's a motor. So it's kind of all these different things where it has energy, it has awareness, and it has intuition, all wrapped up into the undefined. On the other side is the spleen that we mentioned quick. That's the animalistic knowing. That's that yes or no. Okay. With the intricacies with that. Going up is the identity center. So above the sacral, in the middle, that'll look like the biggest baseball diamond, so to speak. That is where your soul sits, and that is your identity and your direction in life. That is kind of where the I am is. So the gates and channels out of that all have to do with soul expression to different ways, and your direction in life and your identity of who you are. So those of you that are defined will be a little more fixed on who you are and what you're doing. Those of you who are undefined, I had one this morning, a client of mine that we found out she only has one gate there. So she could be completely conditioned by anyone around her, which is a gift. She can be a chameleon, and if she knows how to use it, it's a gift, believe me. But it's a curse that she can lose herself through other people. So that's the center to know, so that you know your direction and who you are and how that functions. Then you have the heart side, right in the heart spot, which actually has to do with value and will and desire. Okay, and that is that oomph and push to make things happen. That is like that will to do it even when you don't think you have it, or the will to do it no matter what. And just your values of what your heart desires. That's where manifestation should come from, your heart. And if you're defined there, they call you the iron-willed few. It's only roughly 20% of people. Mine is defined there. 80% are not. So I'm gonna talk forever. So you can check that out. The throat is where all manifestation takes place, either from all the motors from below, okay, or from the information and awareness from above. All congregates in the throat. Most are defined, but 20% of you are not. And if you're undefined, that means you need to be invited to speak to have power. So we set people up that have undefined throats, because when they speak in the right time, it's like an atom bomb goes off. But if they try to push it, like I'm designed to push it, if they try to push it, it's just not going to work. So you can learn about how your throat works. Then there's the mind, which they call the ajna. That's a processing center. So this is where you process information. This is an awareness. You see patterns. You want to use it. It's just as important in sensing as the emotions or the spleen, because those are all sensory. But it's not a motor source. So it's not your source of energy. It's not your source of decision making. It's your source of wisdom and applying patterns and learning and communication, which you can do very well. You have a channel called the channel of structuring, which is, communicating epiphanies and ideas and then being able to articulate them so that it can be understood. By the way,
articulation has been a theme throughout my life. Like, English was my best subject in high school, just, it's so funny how all the things that you're saying, I'm now like, oh, wow, yeah, true, right. And whereas when I thought I was a reflector, I was kind of like, oh, no, I don't think so,
Yeah, I
So
know, but believe me, I went through 10 years of the other design and programmed the crap out of it into me and function as it, and also knew for years that it wasn't correct, but I had some element of truth to it. But now that I found the real me a week ago, that I actually got to it, it was like, whoa, this is a game changer. I mean, we are getting to true reality. We would say that in the fifth dimension. We are here now. We are really entering it, but we are also discovering who we actually are, which is what these things are designed, so that we can be ourselves. And human design definitely helps in that nature. So yeah, you have the channel of structuring, since we're highlighting your chart as we're going around. So you have epiphanies and ideas, but you also have the ability to articulate and break it down. Doesn't mean that you'll be able to do it right away. It doesn't mean that it'll always come out right, but you have the ability, if you breathe into it and have a moment and just let it out, you can articulate almost concepts and ideas that maybe, seem a little bit surreal, but they come upon you spontaneously. So it's not like you're necessarily trying to think about it. It just kind of comes in, and then you could call it channeling, which it is, but in this form, it actually is your mind. You're actually voicing, and it's the most individual channel of the mind. So you're voicing your individual thoughts, your individual view, but it's picked up from the cosmic, atmosphere. Yeah. But then you're able to articulate it in your own way, but it can be delivered in a way where people can understand and can relate to it.
Yeah, again, I think, a lot of people really underestimate, the throat chakra and its importance. Because if you can't communicate, if you're like a coach or a guru or a healer or whatever you may be, if you cannot communicate effectively what you want to bring out into this world, like, well, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah,
but
you can't share it.
Just want to mention, for anybody that wasn't here at the start of the live, we've got Jarin here talking to us about human design. But for those of you that may be coming in saying, oh, I know all about human design, let me tell you, this is some groundbreaking stuff, because it's a little bit different of what you may already know of human design. So for example, I did my chart a little while back. I plugged it into that Jovian archive, said I was a reflector, and Jaren's come in today and gone, no, you're actually not. And I am relating and aligning so much more to the things that Jaren's been saying. So if you've only just come in now, guys, I highly recommend that you watch the replay. Just thought I'd say that now.
Yeah, I love it. You're structuring, and that's awesome. And it's perfect. Yes, exactly correct. Yes, and you go along with that to feed off of that. For those of you that are just tuning in, it's true sidereal astrology, which is the accurate math. So this is where this is getting from, the accurate astrology of what's really in the sky with the 13 signs, the precision that we're at now. So if we looked out in the telescope, we'd see. So this means this is the accurate information that was imprinted upon you when you were born, not some made-up planet that we say was in there, actually wasn't there. So that's where we're at now. And Cosmic Human Design is where you can go, cosmichumandesign.com, or on the Facebook group Cosmic Human Design, where actually he was a former client of mine who is now my co-partner, and he's led the in teaching, but he's led the Cosmic Design group, and he's a super genius. Believe me, I could never have computed the algorithm, but he did, and we got it. So take a look at it. And the last we're going to bring up is the crown. So the crown is the connection to higher self, right? To what's coming in from the cosmos, to new information, new energy, and it's a place that that takes it in, and it's a pressure center. I should mention that about the root. The top, the crown, is a pressure. It's not energy motor, but it has pressure to make you think. And then the root is pressure to act. So the root is pressure to make you act. The crown is pressure to make you think. But it's all dependent upon what your center is, to how that works or not. No, I will tell you that, like I said, with your root, actually, wait a minute. Where'd you go? Uh-oh, I lied to you about one thing. Oh, there we go. Never mind. No, we're still good.
Lies.
Now you do, yeah, you have that defined root, but you don't have the channel connected. Anyways, let's see. That's why we could get carried away with this. But the pressure to act may be different for you and may be consistent in some people, when in some people it may not be. The pressure to think may be consistent in some people where it may not be in others. Some of us, do not have the pressure to think, but yet our mind's trying to think all the time based on how we're wired. Some of us have both. So those are intricacies that you have to go way deeper into the chart to do. You want to know so I'm going to move on and say you want to know your channels. The channels are the specific talents that you have. Why, though, is the feminine and the masculine are equal. Not one is better. It doesn't matter if you have 9 channels or 1 channel or all that stuff. Those are all games when we think that one is better than the other. What it is it a destiny that wants to unfold, which is the masculine consistency, or is it a wisdom through choice, which is something that is receiving from the environment and makes choices and also redirects the masculine of others to correct it and make it right if it's off. So they're both equal, but parts of you have this destiny that's just urging you forward. And at this point, it's like your purpose is what matters, and that's it, your evolution, along with everything else. And we have some things in us that we just love to feel, and it's great, and it's like cool, and we love to help people with it, but it's like not my thing necessarily. It's not who I am. And large part, these will be your feminine qualities, and largely that you'll be receptive to others there. So that's the last thing I want to say about that, is that knowing where you're receptive in your design chart can help you with how you're receptive in life. And a lot of times we think we have to do it ourselves, or we have to figure it out, when all we need to do is get out the pen and manifest somebody that does it, because that's what they do. And then they just plug right in and they help you out. But people are blocking receptivity out of this ego that thinks you're supposed to be able to know it or do it all. And we're not. You're actually designed to be focused on what you do and be receptive to let everybody else do what they do. And then that's how we play the band, right? You know, that's how we function as the unit.
Yeah, well, if you're the singer of a band, you're not going to be trying to play the drums, are you? You know what I mean? So,
right.
In that respect, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, we didn't go through tons of the profile, and I'm not going to like analyze all that, but I'm going to tell you at least the basics of it. The profile is very important, is what will differentiate you people that have been, you know, used to the old design chart that is you. And now you're looking at this new one saying, well, wait a minute, look at your profile, because that will help you a lot. That's also the most that I've seen in me and in others that understand design, because the profile really is relative, you know, to kind of like how your movie plays out and how you feel comfortable in the movie as it's playing out. The rest of the things I'm speaking of are more mechanical, sensory in the moment. But this is like the movie as it's going, and your major theme that makes you healthy and successful in it. And so you have 6 different aspects of a profile there, 6. And you have 2 of them in a unique combination. One is conscious, one is unconscious, or subconscious, I like to call it. It's a better word. So your conscious one is you'll be more aware of, and you'll know, hey, this is me. And your subconscious one might be a little bit more, you know, people will see it in you, but you might not recognize it. And it's how your body functions. Now, for those of you that have a line 1, that's an investigator. So you're designed to investigate, to look at the roots of things, to maybe study something before you do it, set an itinerary or plan, mentally put the model together, learn it mentally. All kinds of aspects can go into the investigator, and it's an internal process. The 2, which you're half of, is the hermit. And I'm also in the new design this, because you and I are both 6'2s. The hermit, you know, kind of wants to be left alone at times to do their own thing, doesn't want to necessarily have to express themselves to everyone all the time about what they're doing, is more designed to lead through what their magic is. And at the same time needs time alone, but also when your gut or your authority, strategy or authority tells you to do something new or to get out, you want to follow it. Or you want to have trusted people around you that you'll pull you out into new things. Because if you stay stuck too long in your rigidity, then the universe will, you know, it'll eventually erode and blow up. So hide only so long. But you need time alone, okay, with the hermits. And 3 is the martyr, or a better word also could be the explorer or the wanderer. So the experience through trial and error, bumping into things, learning what works and doesn't through scientific method in a way, through the physical experience, and then having those stories to tell. So you want to be in the experience of things. All those are internal, though. Those are processes inside of you as you're in life. The other 3 are more external, involving others. And so the 4 is the opportunist that gets that likes to work in teams and gets opportunities through people and wants to function as that team and has that, you know, that special group of like-minded friends. The 5 is the heretic, that is the teacher, and teaches a new way, the universal way, you know, a way that you can go new and kind of goes against the grain sometimes, but just also has a strong projection voice. And by the way, I'm limiting these and running through them quickly, but that's a 5, heretic. And then the 6, which you also are, which you're more conscious of, is the role model. Now, the role model goes through 3 cycles in life. It's the only one that has cycles. The others are all consistent throughout life. And the first 30 to 32 years of, before your first Saturn return, you are a martyr. So you're experiencing the trial and error of bumping into things and having things work, and then something doesn't, but then you learn and then you get it better and all those kind of things. And you're physically in it. And then around age 32 or so, it starts to slow down, and then you start to kind of heal your wounds, step away and observe what was going on, and you kind of start to put it together and learn. And then, in the third phase of life, in your 50s or so, it all gets put together into this end thing that you're the role model in. So you're in your middle phase where you ought to be, but you're a hermit also, like I am. So I can see these tendencies in myself. So I'm just saying, like, you should be kind of pulling back a little. You're still all out, but it's more from your own space, your own home, and then the things that really value and the people that value you, since you're a hermit, then you go all out on. And then those are the things you grow instead of everything.
Can I just tell you guys here, that is insanely me. So from up to about, from say when I first started working, all the way up to about 30 years old. Okay, so it's a couple of years off what you said, Jarin, but up to about 30 years old, I just jumped from all these different things. I think I might have spoken about this during my talk yesterday. I've done so many different things career-wise. So I've worked in hospitality, I've worked in retail, both in store and head office. I used to be a buyer, I used to travel. I've worked as a dance teacher, I've worked as a flight planning manager for pilots and things like that. I have done, guys, so many things. And when Jarin was just saying that, I'm like, oh my God, that is so true. Trial and error, all this trial and error until I hit, that sort of 30-year-old mark for me. And then I started flowing more into what I'm into now, into, like this spiritual development and multidimensionality and everything. So that is just so spot on. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you look deeper, it will probably continue that process. Yeah. Again, those are just brief highlights. You got to venture it to yourself.
Brief highlights, if you ask me.
Yeah. What I mean is, my words for some of it may be, look into it or give me a breath so we have more time so I actually can with you. But you want to know your profile, your strategy, and your authority first. To me, that is your water, food, and oxygen. Yeah. Those are the parts. Once you know those, then the rest of your design has the opportunity to be understood and flourish. But if you're operating outside of those things, then you're automatically, in a lot of shadow. And there are many, many more, especially on the site that I'm sharing with everybody today. How your brain works, your environment, how your mind works, your strongest sense, even to do with food, your life's work, the brand for your life's work. It goes on and on and on that you can get now. And I'm recommending people do, because it's like almost like you're looking at a blueprint of not just you, but of your dream. Like, it's gonna be like, that is my dream. So check it out. It goes way deeper than we talked about. The last thing I want to mention is Gene Keys, along with Human Design. So for those of you that have heard of the Gene Keys, which is by Richard Rudd, and he worked alongside and studied with Ra, who brought Human Design into the world in '87. That is about the I Ching, modernized in different language, which I really like. And it's, it speaks of the shadows of our drama, the gifts of our drama, and then the enlightened state, or the Siddha state that we're heading to, collectively and individually. And each different DNA has a different archetypical, theme to it. And then there are shadows in it that will point out your reactive or your repressive. Where are you fighting or flighting it? And it will talk about how we need to embrace those and walk through them, not fight and not flight. Neither one is right. Neither one's going to work. We have to embrace this change, walk through it, operate from a higher virtue, from a higher, frame of work, universally congruent, self first, but always giving your best to the whole, this whole kind of theme. And the reason I mention it is because it does go along with Human Design, but also now when you get your accurate chart, you then can look at which ones are specific for you, because the sun, the moon, the earth, they all have their different categories. But the sun and the earth and the moon, for example, is worth a ton of energy. So when you know your conscious sun and earth, then look at it in the gene keys. It's the same number, because that is really going to give you the theme, not just the mechanics, but the theme of what's going on and how you can transcend old, dense 3D stories and friction and ascend to your higher self you. So I plug that in with my coaching with people. We do that, and we look at where your main points are. And I really think it's important. And now that we get our real charts now, it's going to really be exciting, because it really can clear things so quick. It's different. It's a story. You're supposed to read it a few times. You know, you might read a gate and then go back and read it again. You're meant to feel it. It's a transmission. You know, you'll feel things in it, and that's what it's about. And then just recognizing it and contemplating on it. And then when the stuff comes up in the world, you're conscious to see it. But even it's almost like you have a mental math view of it. And you could say, okay, well, this time I'm going to do this instead of do that. And it can help you clear and get out of a lot of things. So it goes along with the design. Thankfully, Richard, on the cosmichumandesign.com site, when you sign in, you just have to put your email in. It's free. It's all free. You can click your cosmic golden path. This will give you a lot of what I'm speaking of here as far as your specifics. He's done it in ways I wouldn't have been able to do. But you can actually see, because those of you that know the the golden path from Gene Keys, the Pearl, the Venus sequence, these are themes that some of us will know. He's made it accurate with the real astrology. So you'll be able to get your accurate cosmic path and your design on that page.
I love it. I love it. This is some intense information, super exciting information. And, you know, I just want to apologize to everybody that is on the live. Like, I've not even looked at comments because I'm just so enthralled in all this info. So I'm so sorry. I'm really hoping that Jarin will, you know, be willing to come back and have a look at some of those comments. And
yes, I will.
I've just been like, no, I want to listen. Like,
I will. Yes.
So thank you everyone for, you know, putting in those comments, and thankfully Jarin will come in and answer those for you. And you know, guys, actually, sorry, Jarin, was that it? Did you have more to say?
Specifically about human design, no. Nope.
Yeah, okay.
I think we completed what needed to be stated today.
Awesome. I did have one question for you. What do you feel has been your most profound experience in regards to someone, like perhaps a client or a friend or whoever, getting the information of their human design, perhaps the accurate information, and how that changed their life? Like, you know, what would be your most profound experience in regards to that?
Oh my God. Well,
I'm sorry, I ask you hard
well,
questions
sometimes. for me, you know, the smiles of people feeling like they're being recognized and seeing themselves is obviously one thing, and it's a joy, you know, but really to me, it's the ones that have applied it that have like had almost, you know, outrageous manifestations and things take place, like heroic type things have happened by them applying their design. And I'm trying to come up with an exact example, but the reality is, you know, it's changed people's lives. And even if they just know the basics without getting obsessed over all of it, I mean, there are teams of people functioning, you know, with this and seeing how it's the future of how we're, you know, working together at. But just anybody that's just used it, and let's say instead of taking 3 years to get to this place they want to be, they do it in 3 months. And they do. And that's why I call my coaching program Fast Track Your Dream Life, because it's designed to get you on the fast track, to get you there as easy as soon as possible. It won't all be easy, but the reality is, if you embrace the shadows and you go back vertically inside of you and remember that you are in an experience and that's all it is, and you can change because the energy is going to change. That's the universe. It's the only constant is change. And if you go along with it and you stick with it, you can achieve all your greatest dreams and desires. But it requires attention, it requires thought, feeling, and action. And it's geared now to something that's, you know, almost not even existent on the planet as of yet. It's just becoming that way, where we can have that lifestyle and that opportunity. Before it was kind of like, you know, kind of filling in a role and reaching a certain threshold and potential. But I think you would agree. Those of us that are on the golden path inside of ourselves are in for a ride of a soul lifetime, I think. And
Yeah.
it's exciting to see what will come next.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for those of you that do feel like you're on that kind of path, but perhaps you're experiencing it quite rockily. Is that a word? Rockily?
I don't know.
Turbulently.
I like
If you're
it.
experiencing a lot of turmoil, please know that there's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you if that's how you're experiencing it. Okay, no two people are going to experience it exactly the same. Some people, oh my goodness. Actually, guys, give me 1 sec. My phone's about to go flat. I need to just grab the charger real quick. Okay, my bad. I'm so I have no idea
All
what's
good.
going on over here. I've been so in tuned into what you've been saying. But as I was just saying, like, if you are experiencing rocky transitions or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't expect it to all be butterflies and rainbows. It's not always the case, you know. But the more you sort of commit and the more you dedicate to, you know, going within, getting to know yourself, because one thing that we need to remember is that we know about that much of ourselves at the moment. If that's all you, like, if your human experience, your current human experience is all that you know of yourself, that's only a tiny sliver of you, honey. Like, that's not even, you know, scratching at the surface. You are so infinite. So it's really important to be open to this kind of information and to getting to know yourself deeper on deeper levels, deeper layers. And that is exactly what this new version of human design can do for you. And I think it's absolutely amazing. I've been enthralled today. I hope you guys have been. I think Jarin's been a wonderful speaker, and I just want to take a moment to thank him so much for, you know, taking some time out to come chat with us and tell us more about this. And give us new information, guys. That's, you know, that's the huge thing for me, that this is new.
Oh,
this
yeah.
isn't all the old stuff that, you know, you've been hearing about. This is brand new. So for those of you that have joined us live here today, thank you so much for, like, sharing this and receiving this new information.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, my pleasure. And if you guys would like to connect with Jarin more, he's obviously in the group. You know, I'm sure he'd love for you to reach out to him. You will be, for those of you that have registered using the website and been receiving the emails, you'll receive an email in a couple of hours that is going to let you know exactly how to connect with Jarin, exactly what he does. He's even got a special offer in there for you. So keep an eye out for that, and reach out to him if you want to learn more.
Absolutely. I look forward to more with you, Christine. And anybody out there, connect, reach out. You have the information. Send me a message. Human design is just a portion of what I do. We want to manifest and know how to do that. And I give you some tools to do that. And, you know, if nothing else, awesome for watching things like this, showing up in the world, being different. And I want to just feed off what you said earlier about it's not always easy. And it's not less, you know, roses. Well, that's because we make things so serious, number one. And number two, we don't, half of creation is destruction. And I'm in this process just as much as anybody else here, that we can positively create new things and gain more and gain more. But until we let go of the half that needs to let go, the new can't come in. So part of this process we're in is to let go of what's not real and to let go of what was past. And all of us, even the most enlightened people on the planet, I believe, truly, even the ones I look up to, are all in this process too. And it's a lot of shedding, and human beings need to become comfortable with letting go. I mean, and and moving on and realizing it's all a game and letting everybody be in their own lane and showing up for the people that are showing up with you or receptive to you or grateful. And those that are not right now, just let them on their own path. It's something else is for them. It's not our job to save everyone and do everything. We got to go where we need to go now. So we need to let go of the junk, and we need to cause ourselves to go where we want to go, to be able to be who we want to be and get our messages and our information out. And we're going to watch Eden develop on the planet before our eyes.
Yay, beautiful. I really like to think of it as imagine you're decorating your house, right? You wouldn't just bring all that new stuff in and put it around all your old stuff, would you? You'd take all the old stuff out first and then bring all that new stuff in.
Yes.
That's kind of like how I like to think of it. You don't want to just keep adding to your clutter, because then things contradict as well. Like you might have an outdated programming here and then you're trying to overlay something new, but you haven't gotten rid of this one yet. No space. Make the space for it, guys.
Great analogy. Great
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah. So thank you so much to everybody that joined us live. Thank you to anyone watching on replay. Give us a hashtag replay so that we know that you have watched. Thank you so much, Jarin, again, for taking time out and giving us all this beautiful wisdom and knowledge. Like I said, guys, you're going to receive an email real soon on how to connect more with Jarin, and I'm so excited to have him in my field now, because
Me too.
I'm probably going to end up working with him. So guys, get into it.
I'm sure we're going to do future projects together. That's for sure. So
yeah, amazing.
yes.
So thank you so much, everybody. I'm sorry if this is a bit too much information, but I've been sitting here needing to go to the bathroom for like the last 15 minutes.
All right.
I'm gonna quickly end this. Thank you so much, everyone. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.